right, call the meeting to order at 10:01 hours. All council members are present. All right, item number 2, council business discussion of possible action may be taken on the following item. This is the City of Clear Lake Shores City Council meeting, emergency meeting on March 20th. So the first item A is Resolution 2020-04, a resolution of the City of Clear Lake Shores declaring postponement of general election to be held May 2nd, 2020 for the purpose of electing 3 aldermen and a special election to be held the same day for the purpose of submitting to qualified voters of the city a proposition to reauthorize a 1/4 of 1% sales and use tax pursuant of Texas Tax Code Section 327.007 to continue to provide revenue for the maintenance and repair of municipal streets and to reschedule such election to November 3rd, 2020 by proclamation of the Governor of the State of Texas, Greg Abbott, signed the 18th day of March 2020.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2020-04.
I'll second.
And I have a question.
I do too. It's probably yours. Go
All
ahead,
right.
Amanda.
So the special election for the 1/4 sales tax, how does that affect our budget? Because that's supposed to be reapproved by voters every 3 years, right?
Yes.
So
They made allow
okay.
allow that to continue because we're not the only ones.
Okay.
Normally that would expire, I believe, in June.
That's what I thought over the summer.
Um,
So we're good with that, to keep reauthorizing that, I mean, to be
It will still be collected.
collecting, thank you,
First, and it will continue.
until the election.
Yeah, and then if the election is not approved, then it's
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, that was my question too.
And then those candidates who have filed, will they have to refile, or will everything that's been in place now roll over?
The candidates that are filed are set. They are in. There may be the ability to remove themselves from the ballot. There may be another deadline in the program.
Gotcha.
But you can't add any new people at this point. It's closed.
Okay. Okay.
So are we gonna make any rules about the signs? Are we gonna let them keep the signs up? Like
That's a
their
good question.
politicking signs up until November? Or are we
Oh,
gonna
geez.
say, take them down, and then October, you can start?
I would probably look at the guidelines for the November election and then just go ahead and follow those.
Well, you really can't. You can. It's your property. I mean, I can put up a sign on my property that, you can't regulate that.
Yeah, I don't believe in our ordinance it has a timeline for
Right.
I'm just
elections.
Yeah.
No,
I-
from
yeah.
my
You're
recollection,
right.
that there's no timeline. There is a timeline by state law that you have to remove them
Right.
within by a certain date after the elections occur. So just like Trochette and them have for sheriff, and they have their signs out, they just have the preliminary elections, they just left their signs up. Same thing with Cheryl Johnson, so she just left her signs up because the elections are in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think there's an issue there.
So I guess that might be communicated to the residents then, that it's postponed, and then it's up to them if they want to move them from their house.
All right, any further discussion?
Nope.
Having none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously. All right, second item is the extension of the declaration of disaster that was signed last week by myself.
Make a motion to extend the declaration of disaster.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
And Kurt, that's every 7 days we need to do that?
No, that was the 7 days preliminary that I have to get council's approval.
Oh,
Now
okay.
it has a set date of April 3rd.
Okay, thank
Which
you.
is matching what the state's doing. If the state extends, then most likely we'll
We'll have to
obviously
come
come
back
back and
and
have
extend.
council vote again.
Right.
Thank you.
And we'll add things as the state, but basically we're following what the state's doing here and moving forward. So, any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
No. Motion passes. Item C is Governor's Executive Order GA-08 relating to the COVID-19 preparedness and mitigation.
we have to take action on this?
Not really an action, I don't think it's an action, but a discussion that had to be on that agenda, if there was any questions. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in why he did that.
We don't have to provide any follow-up communication to our businesses or anything.
No, but we will post our, what we did is with the extended, disaster declarations, we took the parts that were
Applicable, put it in there.
to Clear
Right.
Lake Shores. We tried to make it a more condensable version so it would be easier to understand. For instance, I thought the part about massage parlors didn't apply to us, but in fact it does. We have a massage envy.
The massage envy is
Parlor.
right, but it does.
But it does apply, so that wording, remains. So we just wanted to clean up that document and show that. Of course, we can add to it, and prior to April 3rd, I would anticipate another emergency meeting of some sort to extend.
So do we have any requirement to notify those businesses, or just from news satisfies that?
The news satisfies it, and it's on every major network. What I was planning on doing is just touching base with our businesses and see if I can make contact with people that are there and try to get that done today. Also do the parking lot, if they're getting the parking lot, and I can hand the small business loan information and get the EDC meeting posted and make them aware of that. That process is going to be started. You don't necessarily have to be here for that EDC meeting, but just be aware that that's coming.
I have a question.
I do too. Do we have an obligation to monitor this? So
That
like,
was my question.
what if,
That
and not the skippers, and what if a business decides not to follow
That's
this
right.
then, and we notice that they're open for business and people are dining in on Saturday, then we, because they're in our jurisdiction, we go in and we shut them down, or how does that work? Does that
So
fall
that-
on us?
I've seen some cities come out with a fine of $1,000. That's happened a lot across the state, and I don't know if that's something that we have to address.
I was gonna say, do we implement that?
Right.
Yeah,
And
it
do we
falls
have
on our
to be the bad cops, so to speak?
responsibility to make sure everybody adheres to the, executive order from the governor. We do not have fines in place. That's something we would have to come back to council to establish those fines,
Right.
but the police would be called and find them with a citation doesn't have any fines due to it.
Gotcha.
We need to follow up with that.
Okay.
Just a little bit of discussion, EDC is considering, some quick turnaround loans to local businesses if they meet some criteria. I don't know what that is yet. EDC needs to meet on it, and then once they meet, then they'll come to council, so not trying to make any decisions on that, but they have that in front of them, because it could
Good.
take 3 or
That's
4
great.
weeks for them to get an SBA loan. I've worked with Skippers just on the side with Keeman, and he applied for a SBA loan, and they would say you can't apply because the state of Texas is not even registered yet. Well, that was all tied to this executive order and disaster order that the governor put in place 2 days ago, and it was the day before Keeman was calling, and it takes 2 days to process. So as of today, they should be able to go in there and apply for a small business loan, because before it was only listing Ike and Harvey. So they'll be able to do that, and that could take 3 or 4 weeks to get turnaround. So EDC is considering a fast solution to help hopefully make their payroll or whatever they need to do.
Excellent.
And criteria that your business is X amount of dollars a year and you have X amount of employees or less. But not getting into the details, talk to your EDC if you feel like you wanna have any input to that.
And Chief, we were just talking about the governor's order and shutting down the restaurants for dine-in, and Kurt was telling us that, and Jan had mentioned that some cities do have fines in place for if we see that they are operating, and Kurt said we don't have anything like that. It would be on the police shoulders to enforce that. Have you guys talked about that at all, or?
Yes, we studied it. We're not going to go in there and direct people out, so we're going to strongly urge that they go. They won't be in there if the business isn't, kind of doing things. Hold on, Ron, 1 second.
Yeah, this would be a good explanation. Right there next to it.
I haven't touched it.
Sorry, is that better?
I like the gray.
Okay, so
I like the gray
The-
and the black.
our plan is to strongly urge the business to conform. We're not gonna drag people out. There's not a plan in place to go house to house. I don't know if you've seen, there's a video of moving people off of the beach, and it's kinda ugly. It's sad that they have to go do that. The people should just do it, but I think their handling of it's a little bit strong-handed. So we're not gonna do anything like that. We're gonna go to the business owner, the business employee, if there are people there. If it's a private location, we'll just strongly urge them to comply with the order, and it puts the officer in a disadvantage when he has to be exposed, and in the proximity to have to be able to talk to somebody. So we're gonna treat each situation kind of a fluid, developing thing, and we'll figure it out as we go. But we're not gonna get heavy tactics, or, you know, we could issue a citation, and we would probably do that through the mail. Nothing's gonna be hand to hand that we don't have to absolutely do, if that makes any sense.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chief.
So everybody knows that this is all developing very dynamically and changing every minute or every hour, then every minute. And then Brent's, you know, keeping up with all the emergency management office standpoint and doing all the call-ins. I've done call-ins with the Governor Abbott and heard about the stuff 2 days ago, and then of course they came out yesterday and shut things down. For the city, you know, some things that we're considering, and it's still open, but there's been some questions. One would be like the EDC jamming on Jarbo. Well, if it gets to that date, that will most likely be canceled, just because it's a congregation of people of more than 10. The swimming pool came up. The swimming pool codes say it's safe for a swimming pool to be used. I've met with Brent. I feel that we could keep it open. If somebody wants to go swim laps, they can, but from a standpoint of multiple people going there, if they just use their social distancing like they would be walking around on the streets, it's the same thing inside the pool area and the pool. If somebody gets in a situation where people are too close, they need to choose to leave. If now 20 or 30 people are using the pool every day, then we would proceed with shutting it down. Same thing with our parks. Our parks have not been closed. If everybody's at the parks and violating the 10-person rule of thumb, then we'll shut the parks down. But I think everybody here in Clear Lake Shores can make the right and proper decisions.
And that goes, the library caretakers, I know had spoken with Brent, and I just wanted to get it on the record that Brent did address the library, and the library is open as well, and we have sanitation measures in effect.
Yes, and then another one came up, and it you know, with Okies, if food trucks have not been closed down. So if food trucks show up there, people can buy food there, and they can sit in the tables that are 10 feet apart. But if it starts getting to where more people are congregating together than 10, the police will have to step in and say, you guys gotta move on home. So that's one of those things out there that didn't cover food trucks.
I do have a question on, in this order, it talks about food court. Is the Okies area considered a food court?
Does it say food courts are closed?
It does.
That's a good question.
I was expecting to relate to a mall.
That's what
That's
I was
what I'm
thinking. What is the definition of
Our
food
food
court?
courts are not food courts, it's a park area where food trucks are.
Yeah, so I would view that as a food court, and people wouldn't be able to sit around and eat. So they could go visit the food truck.
Pick it up like
Pick it
if
up
they
and
were
take it
carrying
home.
out to the restaurant.
The food court
So-
definition is an area typically in a shopping mall where fast food outlets, tables, and chairs are located.
Yeah.
That's pretty broad.
Yeah, but there's
But
tables and chairs.
you're right.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to be the smart ones here and determine that, which I think we have, and let the public know, or let the Billy know, and make sure that, you know, people can come there and purchase food, but then they just need to head on back home.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So since this is an emergency meeting, I mean, this is a good opportunity for any other discussion as far, not to vote on it, but underneath item C, questions anybody has, in open public meeting. All right, so having none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 10:17. Thank you.